God freed us from the slavery of addiction, right? He pulled us out of the pits of hell. He's done so much good in our life, blessed us in so many ways.
The unity that we all have, like it talks about in the Bible, that unity that's going to bring people to Christ, I feel like that is something that we don't have in the world. Everything is so broken.
I found out the true power of God when, being sober this time, and in the very beginning working at a place where everybody was high except me, and a couple times being this close. And man, I'm telling you, when you pray those prayers from a place of desperation and God's the only option you got, watch out. My name's Justin. This is my beautiful wife, Bonnie.
I'm Bonnie. We met in a trap house. I think that's like the best beginning ever. I don't even think we really liked each other. And then we met back up at a church, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I tried to like hide my face from him, and I was like, please don't recognize me. Please don't recognize me. And God just ended up bringing us together through like a Bible study and getting back, and then.
And it came to the point where she was like, you know what, we need to, is this serious or is this not? And I was like, man, if I do this and it goes wrong, we're not going to be friends anymore. I'm going to lose her. And I was like, no, you know what, I'm going for it. And she's the best thing that ever happened to me.
It ties right along with no regrets.
Yeah.
Like all in or nothing.
For sure. I got no doubt that God put her in my life. We take God and sobriety seriously every single day. And I know I'm definitely with who I'm supposed to be with.
Amen. I agree.
How long you guys been sober together?
Over 10 years now.
Yeah, 2013.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Both celebrated 10 years end of last year.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Hand Up to Victory basically came just from my own walk-in addiction, and also seeing the people that we helped. Is, people were coming out of jail, be speaking in jail, and hey, I'm getting out soon, or meeting people on the streets, hey, I really want to change. I want to come to the meeting, I want to do something different, but I have no money, I have no resources, no one's in my corner, I burn every bridge. Where do I go? How do I start? And I was like, I don't know. Like, is there anything out there? And so through just seeing what the community had to offer, through God putting it on my heart, we started Hand Up to Victory. And what that does is our 501c3 nonprofit organization. We help people, addicts and alcoholics, coming out of jail, out of a program, detox, off of the street, that want to make a change but have no way to do so. So we have an interview process. We help put people into safe, sober living homes. We help out with the financial assistance to get people started with that. Also, if they need food, clothing, hygiene products, cell phones, IDs, full-time jobs, believe that's every piece of the puzzle that you need to get that recovery journey started. So those are all the things that we provide for people, and we're seeing the success of that. We've helped out over 800 people since we started about 7 years ago, and so many people that it starts out in the beginning them saying this was just what I needed to take that step to start this journey, and then you see people they're balancing working full-time jobs and focusing on their sobriety, and then eventually become leaders of the sober living house, and eventually they're moving out, getting vehicles, getting their kids back in their life. We're seeing families restored, and so that's the beauty of it, when you see transformation happen, and you know that you were that link, that missing link that someone needed to take that step.
What is High on Jesus? What are you doing there? And then talk a little bit about your theme for the year.
High on Jesus is our recovery group that we do weekly in Bradenton, Florida. We do it Wednesday nights. It's all about the 12 steps. We know the higher power that we're talking about, obviously, hence the name. Didn't want anyone to be surprised walking in there. And we just believe that if every single day you take that time to focus on a relationship with God, to focus on your sobriety, and to set goals for your life and what's next and where you're headed to, that's the secret to success there. And we talk about complacency, being the number one killer of, I believe, any addict and alcoholic. And so I just believe that, you know, the opposite is true, man. When the complacency kicks in and, you know, we're not asking for help, we're not seeking, we're not finding anything. But I just truly wholeheartedly believe when we have that all-in mentality and we go after God and sobriety with half the energy, we chase drugs and alcohol, we're going to be a massive success as a result of that. No regrets is our theme for 2024. God just gave it to me in one of my prayer times, and kind of may have came from turning 40. I'm not really sure, but just you know, I did a lot of self reflection leading up to that particular year, and you know, just the whole thing stems from not wanting to get to the end and look back and say, man, I have regrets. I wished I would have done this. I wish I would have pursued that. You know, obviously we have regrets from our using days, I'm sure, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when God does a miracle in our life, when that gift of sobriety comes to us, and now we move towards a purpose-filled life. Like, we don't want to get to the end and look back and say, man, I wished I would have. So no regrets just comes from, you know, am I doing every single thing that I need to be doing? Am I taking every opportunity that God's given me? Am I living a purpose-filled life? That's where the no regrets comes from.
I was particularly interested or even moved by where you talked about the power of priorities the other night. And you really talked about it like, you know, how you guys work it together in your relationship. Relationships is a place where a lot of people struggle to get on the same page. Certainly prioritizing life is a place where people miss a lot of times. And it sounded like you guys have, you know, or at least working on a system where you can be on the same page as much as possible.
Yeah, so the power of priorities was one of the pieces that we did for our message series of No Regrets starting out 2024. And I thought that was just really powerful how, you know, I think sometimes we can go along in life, just like you say, addict, alcoholic, or otherwise, and we just get so caught up in the day to day. We got, you know, work, we got duties, responsibilities, all these things that we need to get done, maybe some distractions at the back end of that that's taking our time and attention. And so, you know, I found in my life when I would be struggling and going through a rough season, I could look back and see that my priorities were all out of whack. And when I would be having a good season and things seem to be going well, I could look back and say, man, the priorities are exactly where I need them to be. So the priority list, you know, for me was God first and then myself second. And it's a whole nother discussion that we could probably have of we need to take care of ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually in order to be there for anyone else that's on the rest of that priority list. For me, it's my wife comes third. She's next after that. Then it's our children. Then it's hand up the victory, high on Jesus. You know, things we do for our careers, obviously. And then I think everyone's is going to differ a little bit from there. Have things on there like, you know, my mom, my dad, relationships, friends, things, you know, doing on the side for extra income. Maybe fit fun in there somewhere also.
Yes.
So, you know, did you agree with that? Is that
Without a doubt,
a good place to have the priority list?
To be third on the list, because like if God's number one, that's where you get your happiness, you know, that's where he gets all of it. And then he's talking to God, he's taking care of himself, he's doing the spiritual thing, he's taking care of himself physically. So like he's had a slew of injuries, which is why he was in addiction in the first place, you know. Taking care of all of that, taking care of all the mental and everything. And then, you know, he's not like an empty cup or he's not exhausted because he's doing it all in his own power. He's got God's power flowing through him. He's taken care of. So I get 100% of Justin instead of just a little fraction at the end of the day and be like, oh, I'm so tired. No, he's like, hey, it's so good to see you. I love you. And it's perfect. So I wouldn't have it any other way. I like being third on the list. I don't want to be anywhere above that, you know, because then it's going to be this whole cascade of problems, and I'd rather have it just perfect like that.
So how does this priority thing work for you? And was that Was that a challenge for you at some point as well, or is this just something Justin struggles with?
No, it's always a challenge because, I have kids after my attention. My work needs my attention. Justin needs my attention. The house needs my attention. I have pet chickens, like I've got all these other things. I'm running a Bible study with all the ladies at High on Jesus. So their needs as well, but I can't give out of an empty cup. So I have to be full. And it's kind of like when people say, oh, you shouldn't put you first, you should put everybody else first. Like, yes, absolutely, we should always love everybody else, but I can't give if I'm completely empty. So I'm not saying like I have to take care of like my nails or my hair or all this other thing. I have to be fed spiritually. I have to have that connection with God in order to be able to, disciple others. So it's the same thing. So God's number one. I have to make sure like I'm mentally and spiritually fit. And then I can be a good wife to my husband. And I'm not going to be a good servant if I'm not following after Jesus' ways. He came to serve, so I'm able to serve in that same manner. So, and then after that, it trickles down. I'm able to serve my children. I'm able to serve the community and teach everybody else and do discipleship and things like that.
How does that play out in day-to-day life?
Well, you usually do your God time in the morning. I'm more of like a night owl. In the morning, I'm dead to the world. So I do Jesus time in the morning. Like if I'm on my way to work, I'll listen to a podcast and then I'll do scripture and I'll pray because I take like a little shuttle to work. So I'll pray to God and be like, teach me how to be a servant kind of thing. And then I do like a wind down in the day and I talk to him. I read his word. And then I pray and things like that. And that's how I take care of myself. And then throughout the day, I'm talking to God as well. So if I kind of like snap at Justin or I'm feeling like a little bit short and I'm kind of like acting like in my own flesh kind of thing, I have to like take little moments in my head. And I don't like do it. I don't like sit down and like pray like this. But like as I'm going, I'm just having like this continual dialogue with God in my head throughout the entire day. Like we could even be driving and I'll have conversations with God in my head. And that's what keeps me from biting his head off sometimes. Like if he's not doing great or if he's doing good, I want to be good too. So that's kind of how that goes.
I think it's, this is a hard subject. This is hard for people to understand, even, what the relationship is with God. What does that look like? Where do I fit it in? Just like you said, as soon as you wake up, kids, mommy, daddy, responsibilities, work, you get home, you got to clean the house, cook, homework, the whole 9 showers, and then it's 10 o'clock and you wonder what happened to the whole day. So, I truly believe that helping people to understand what that relationship with God does look like, and that's, taking some time in your day just to get alone with God and your thoughts and in your mind to have some kind of dialogue with Him. I kind of relate it to a relationship right down here on earth. If we don't talk, if I don't give Bonnie any time and attention, I'm barely talking with her except an hour a week on Sundays, we're probably not going to be that close. Relationship isn't going to be that great, right? So we need to have some type of dialogue going on all the time, and it doesn't have to be rehearsed, doesn't have to be this set of words. It's just pouring out your heart to God. God, I'm going through this. I need your help with this moment. God, I want to thank you for the amazing things you're doing in my life. Being able to open the Word, even if it's the Bible app and just reading the verse of the day, maybe a little devotional on there, whatever that looks like, just something where you're getting fed somehow, some way through that, and making room for it. Like we schedule everything else, right? That's what I'm kind of been getting on lately. I'll put all this other stuff in my schedule book, but yet I just try to fit God in whenever I can. Well, I need to start scheduling it in and knowing on this day I'm going to be able to do it in the morning, but next day is just too crazy. I'm going to have to fit it in at a different time. And so I think that comes with the power of prioritization, is knowing when to fit it in at, a certain time frame. And, then next I got to connect with God, and I got to take care of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. So I know that looks a little different for each one of us, but it's, it's taking, some people like the gym, some people like to stretch, yoga, whatever that looks like, right? We got taking care of ourselves spiritually with God, that's first, right? And then we have to take care of ourselves mentally also. It's taking care of our sobriety? Are we working the 12 steps throughout our day? Are we making a phone call to someone else that's in recovery also, so we can, that's like-minded and going to give us some good advice, whatever that looks like. Just connecting somehow. And I wholeheartedly believe, like she said, when we're filled up, then that's when the outpour comes, and we're able to help other people, and I can be the husband, the father, the mentor, the leader that everyone else needs me to be on that list. And when I get it all discombobulated, even putting work, we think work's a good thing, right? I'm put that first. I'm making money. I'm doing all this stuff. I mean, I pour out there all day long, and I got nothing left to give to my wife when I get home or any other time. So I believe that when you put them in that order, and you're going to find that it's just going to be a world of difference.
I don't know if you can recite that straight out of the gate, or if you just have some living memory.
Putting me on the spot, Chris. I recall. Yeah. So basically, that you shall have no other gods before me, right? And there's not going to be any idols, right? I don't want any idols in your life. So great scripture. I mean, first it's already saying God's a jealous God, right? He doesn't want anyone before him. He's asking, basically, I've done all this for you. For them at the time was freed you from slavery. I've done this work in your life, provided for you every step of the way. All I'm asking is to be first place in your life. And when you do that, it's going to be so much better. The same thing for us. That's how I related it to, the group when we did the messages. God freed us from the slavery of addiction, right? He pulled us out of the pits of hell. He's done so much good in our life, blessed us in so many ways. All he wants to do is be first place. And I mentioned, the jealous God. I said, if I give another female more time and attention than my wife, probably going to be in serious trouble.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right? So if we're giving all these other things on the list more time and attention than we are God, it's probably not going to end up with the best result for us.
And another thing, when you have an idol, sometimes it's not known. Around 2019, I had an idol in my life, and it was actually separating me from God, and that's when I needed to quit smoking. I was vaping, and he had already quit and things like that, and it was extremely hard for me. I loved smoking, and God was like, is it me or is it your e-cigarette? And I was like, why do you have to do this? But it was getting in the way, and I made a date and gave it up, and God really walked me through that. But that was my idol, and I didn't even recognize that it was an idol, that I was putting that before him. Instead of pulling out my Bible app or talking to him, I was relying on nicotine as my fix. Still, even after drug addiction and everything, that was still an addiction in my life that was taking place over him.
Just some common challenges that you hear on the female side, the
a
wife
lot
or
of
girlfriend side, or just single, doesn't matter,
A lot of it is relationships. Because a lot, especially for women, I feel this is mainly a female thing, and I know it's for men too, but I see it more with the women. Women, we just want to be loved, okay? And a lot of time, especially early in recovery, and we have this gaping hole that we were filling with drugs and alcohol. We'll be oh, well, this guy, he's giving me all this attention that I've never had. Well, instead of that, it's more so that's God's space. And that's where we can have a false idol, accidentally. It's not intentional. We're just trying to fill this gaping hole that drugs is now removed from, and that's God's spot. So even with Justin, him being my husband, God still has to be number one. If I start putting Justin there, God is a jealous God. He wants to be number one, and he will be number one. And as long as I keep that in order, this is free reign. It's the same thing. God is here, and I'm the church, and he's Jesus. It's the same. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's the same relationship. So
supposed to love our wives like Jesus loves the church.
That's right. See? Yes. So it's a symbolic relationship.
Was that relationship always there for you? Was it always in the back of your mind when you were using that, there was, I know this is here for me at any time? Or was it completely?
Well, I wasn't raised in church. You know, it was just kind of like an idea that Jesus was like tossed around, but I didn't know him personally. I wasn't raised in any of that stuff, but I knew evil. So I know with all the evil that I saw when I was using, and like the terrible trauma, like there has to be a God. Like if you don't have evil, like then it's just it's a very complex idea. Either way, I saw so much evil, there has to be a God. And then I went to these recovery groups. I went to, you know, different 12-step groups along with Christian recovery groups, and it made sense. And I didn't trust because of all of the trauma I went through. I'm not a trusting individual, so I had to try these things. I had to basically, I know you're not supposed to test God, but I had to try these different things, and God never failed me in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely. Like all my questions were answered. I was asking Christian people, and I had all these details, and God's the only one that's never let me down. I think it's really difficult to like start a relationship with a random person, especially when it's somebody like you can't see. So when it's basically like discipleship, I walk them through it. So we have like a long chat with all the women in High on Jesus, and they may not have ever read the Bible, they don't know any of this, or they have difficulty with reading and things like that. And we use that Bible app to help us. But we're doing Bible studies together, and I tell them, like, this is an open forum. Whatever you're thinking, feeling, just keep it out in the open. We're not here to put on like a facade or anything like that and like make everybody think we're okay. It's okay to not be okay, but let's talk about it. So it opens relationships for all of us to get deeper connected. And in that, we get to walk this spiritual walk together. So it's like everybody's on the same page. Nobody's better than one another. We're all learning together, and we're making sure we're all putting God number one. And so if they have questions, somebody asked me a question about like love versus self-love, and we talked it through. Because I don't know everything. Like I'm in recovery still, and I'm still learning new things, and God's like showing me new things. So I feel like the unity that we all have, like it talks about in the Bible, that unity that's going to bring people to Christ, I feel like that is something that we don't have in the world. Everything is so broken, even like political. Like even if we have differences of opinion and like one lady believes something and I believe something different, as long as it's not some concrete like biblical idea, like we can have these discussions, and it's open discussions, and I love it. Like it's like the greatest thing ever. Like I was texting all the ladies earlier. It's exciting.
Kind of solidified that, like anything specific that comes to memory?
I can't think of anything specific, but it was controversial questions that I would ask people in the church to see like their response. So I would see if people would like break down, or if they would handle it with like love, or if they would get frustrated or irritated, because that's what I was used to in my family. And they were like the most loving people. I would ask probably the most grotesque questions and just try them on purpose. And they were like, oh no, you know, and they would handle it with such like gentleness. And like I could feel God speaking through people. And I knew it wasn't just that human talking, that like God was speaking through like a lady or something. And I would see like these couples, and I would see like marriages, and I'd never known that people could like love each other that much. And it was because that they were placing Jesus first in their life. And I was like, I want this. I want all these things. I want all these people, like all these different people, like races, nationalities, all these different things. And everybody's getting along and like loving each other. I was like, I want that. I was like, I got to get to know this God. But anytime I would read something in the Bible, I would get all my questions answered. God would reveal it. Like sometimes it wouldn't be like maybe like an audible sound, but he would talk to me. I can't explain how he would answer all those questions, but anything like, especially science, because there's a lot of science and I love science. And a lot of those scientific principles Here's one. Let's think about this. So, like a baby getting circumcised on the 8th day. I was reading in like one of these books that a child's immune system was highest on the 8th day, and that would be like the perfect day for circumcision. Like, how would any human know that before like science and evidence and things like that? God just had it. Or, you know how people would argue that the earth is flat versus it being a sphere. Well, it says in the book of Job that it's a globe. So it already said it when people are having all these arguments. I'm like, the answers are right there. So that those things were exciting. So those are like little scientific details that I kept going back and forth about. I'm like, is this stuff real or is this just like made up? So, but God's always proved himself no matter what.
How did that journey kind of open itself up for you?
Yeah, so, I was in the church. Grandma and mom would always try to make us go, and me and dad probably weren't feeling it, so we tried to sleep in on Sunday morning so we could skip it. And once I knew it was past a certain time, I could come down, watch cartoons. Everything was good for that week. And then, we grow up, and, I started using early, so I just didn't care about it. Didn't pay it no mind. Grandma would talk about, oh, okay, Grandma, and just keep it moving. So, similar to what she said, when you go through all this stuff out there of being homeless on the streets, robbing and stealing, just everything that comes with the whole using scene, there's some crazy stuff that happens out there. It is dark and it's evil, and I can tell you for a fact, like, I have seen some evil stuff. I've experienced some real evil stuff out there. So similar, when you're coming around to the other side and trying to comprehend this, man, is there a God out there? Is there something that can do for me what I couldn't do for myself? That's what kind of helped me come to terms with it, is I knew for a fact that there was evil, right? And so if there's evil, there's got to be good. There's got to be something to combat that, right? And so just over time, it took being broken in order to finally come to that place of surrender, to say, okay, I can't do this. I've tried every single thing possible, and so now I'm ready to just turn it over. So, to help other people with it, when we go to speak at the jail, or I know newcomers coming in that I'm not understanding God, the first thing we just got to get is, like, there's a God out there, and it's not us. Let's just start there, right? And then we'll work on the rest of it. But to truth be told, I didn't, come to Jesus because AA said to get a higher power, or because the pastor told me I should pray, or because Christianity is the American religion, whatever you want to call it. I found out the true power of God when, being sober this time, and in the very beginning working at a place where everybody was high except me, and a couple times being this close to going to grab something and doing it and having no option but to lock myself in the bathroom and, like, beg God, please take this thought for a drink or drug out of my head, because I know what's going to happen if I stick a needle in my arm again. And man, I'm telling you, when you pray those prayers from a place of desperation and God's the only option you got, watch out. Like, you're gonna feel something off of that. And I started to feel something from it. The obsession was removed from me. I started to be like, man, like, this is real. Like, my prayers are getting answered. And then as I got more in depth in the Bible and had some spiritual mentors to help me along, and started just communicating with God more, all of a sudden, one thing after the other, God started supernaturally moving. My prayers are getting answered. I'm like, this is real. Like, this is truly real. And so just been on that mission ever since, to let other people know that this is definitely real and it can change your life as well.
To start to close this out, and anything that somebody should know listening to this conversation, or maybe somebody's struggling.
Give God a chance. I've cussed God out in the shower. And you know what? He can take the real you, no matter what. If you're angry, tell him. God can take the real me. I've been crying, sobbing in the car about, like, whatever subject. God can take it. God can take the real crazy, hormonal, like, whatever, that time of the month, Bonnie. And he works with me every time. And he takes care of me, and he comforts me, like, when I need it. So try him out. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Justin?
I just say, take this journey with us. That's what I'm on lately. It's just, this is about a family unit. This is about doing stuff together. This is about navigating life, sobriety, all that together. Join us. Take this journey with us. We're gonna learn together. We're gonna experience some amazing things, and just look forward to seeing people as the weeks continue.